one of the images that I really love and why I love writing for The Nation is the recent cover, the cover celebrating the inauguration, that pictured Obama taking the oath of office against a backdrop and with an audience of historical figures, everybody from abolitionists to women's rights advocates to the to Cesar Chavez. I mean, it was an extraordinary. There were at least 100 people on the cover, as I recall, and it was incredibly inspiring to me because it really underscored the degree to which we are a nation of political effort, and that effort makes its way into social policy, and it becomes a series of claims that are litigated through our courts, and that becomes the system of laws which constitutes us under our Constitution. I want to sort of make this even more, or to sort of underscore this by a conversation I had with a friend of mine who's a political scientist and also a lawyer, who, by whom I was standing on Inauguration Day, and we were in the quad at Columbia, and she was saying, it's just so remarkable. You look at, this moment is bracketed by, and what she described the Bush presidency as having started with 9/11, the image of two planes going into the Twin Towers in New York, and the Obama presidency ending that bracket by this plane which almost, or averted catastrophic discussion, and as she put it, landed on the Hudson and literally walked on water. And it was a wonderful image, and I was very captivated by it, and I loved it. It's very poetic, and it's symbolic, and it certainly captures, again, the civic miracle aspect of this. At the same time, I hope that we as progressives are very careful about this, because at another dimension, just as an analytical dimension, it's no different from Pat Robertson saying, that Sin City, New Orleans, went down under because God was punishing us. It's just as irrational in some ways. It captures a kind of spirit, a unifying sentiment, but it is sentiment. It is not, again, the pursuit of cause and effect. And as we were talking, I said, no, I see it bracketed by, on the one hand, if you reinterpret either the 9/11 and you believe some of the analysis of people like Cy Hirsch, or you look at things like Katrina, I see these two administrations bracketed by, on the one hand, real events that happened, planes that crashed, planes that didn't crash, a hurricane that happened, but much aggravated by a lack of planning on the one hand. I mean, both of those, the catastrophes were really underscored by the lack of planning, by the lack of funding, by the ignoring of the needs of levees, for example, by ignoring of the needs of intelligence reports, by slow response times and so forth, whereas that plane didn't walk on water. It wasn't a miracle. It was the product of a very, very practiced, experienced pilot who had been trained repeatedly on how to land on water, as this is the protocol. It was the result of aerodynamics. It was the result of science, which again has been so derogated in the past 8 years. It was the product of well-funded public services, and it was the product of coordinated public services that came together in an instant because they knew what to do. And we can romanticize that, and it serves a kind of buoyant joy to say that it was a miracle. And we can celebrate it because it appeals to sentiment. But the political and the legal call to us is to ensure that the real safety net that catches us is a continuing informing of who it is we select to be our pilots. Again, not just of our airplanes, but also of our politics, and particularly of our laws. And I say this because at the moment, what Obama has no power over is how much of our civil liberties and laws are coming up through courts, 3/4 of whom have been appointed by Reagan and the two Bushes, and including the Voting Rights Act. And in order for us to keep the momentum, which has resulted in this celebratory moment, we also have to be very, very practical about all of the causes and all of the effects that brought it into its fruition.